Monday mornings with Matt and Kevin.
Oh, how lovely it is to be back on with my good buddy Matt. Matt, how you doing?
I'm great, Kev. I am great. People remember I got braces maybe 6 months ago now, and I can finally speak. I had a
Nice.
lisp. I talked strange. I just didn't articulate well, which is really the reason why we had the break in our streaming.
Actually, it wasn't, but it worked out.
It did work out.
Like I
No,
cannot
feel
listen to Matt for
I
1
can't listen
second.
to anymore with that. Everyone said they didn't notice, but apparently I did.
Your
And
face looked pretty, especially the first couple of weeks, man. Your face looked like you were hurting. You
oh
looked like you
yeah,
were hurting.
oh yeah. And
That was
as you know,
brutal.
for us Italians, eat Jello. I
Oh.
don't eat that. I don't eat that.
Is
I need
there a
to
spaghetti
chew.
Jello or yeah, right? Yeah,
That would be
seriously.
disgusting. I hope no one ever invents that. Please no.
Someone in America will do it. Oh
They
man.
they might. We always go back and forth about baseball, Kevin. I don't even think we brought this up a little bit, but Pete Rose is taken off the ban list.
Yeah.
He could be eligible for. I'm sure you probably don't want him in either because you don't
Pete
like any.
Rose.
Oh, probably
Oh,
not. You
come
probably don't want
on.
him in. You probably he gambled.
I don't care.
He's
If he didn't cheat.
he did
to
something
get those
wrong.
numbers. Yeah, off the field. Yeah, it was stupid what he did. I think it was fair that he was banned from baseball. To be kicked out of
The
or
Hall
not
of
to be
Fame.
allowed into Hall of Fame is an absolute joke and travesty.
It is
Total
strange
travesty.
that there are people who think he should be out. Like there is a
Oh,
crowd who do not
no.
want him in. I don't know for what reason. I mean, what would
He's
be
got
next?
4,000 hits.
I mean, think about it though. What would be if
It's
that? What would be next? Maybe getting divorced if you're a divorced. You can't be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't mind it. But,
Making it moral. Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
morals.
But and like again, I get it. Like what he did was dumb. He never bet against his team, but it was still dumb. It was a dumb thing to do, and I think it's fair that he was kicked out as manager. He can't be allowed to manage in baseball. Okay, I think I'm with that. But how does that affect his Hall of Fame status? Barry Bonds is a
None.
totally different topic because he cheated physically to get some of the numbers he has. So he does not deserve to ever be in the Hall of Fame ever.
I would agree that it's a different topic.
Totally.
But obviously we differ there. much different than our Coca-Cola. I don't know if you can see. I've got
Oh, nice.
a shirt. I found it at Target, and I figured
Coca-Cola.
for people don't see. I have a Coca-Cola shirt. Coca-Cola nationalism, New England nationalism. It's very Americana.
It's
image.
True. It is.
Kev, like you don't see that. Do you have that out there?
Yeah, we have Coke. Yeah.
Makes you think of America, right?
Yeah, it does.
Of course,
I admit that. And it's funny because I don't know if you knew this, you probably did, but the colors of red and white are what made the inspiration for, as we see, Santa Claus now with red and white. That was actually a Coca-Cola commercial back in the 1930s,
correct 30s,
40s. Yeah, and so that's why he is in red and white because of Coca-Cola, which is pretty incredible when you see what a company or an ad campaign to do to change how we view culture, history.
President Trump doesn't have a Diet Pepsi button. He has a Coca-Cola button.
It's true. It's Diet Coke, right?
Diet Coke.
Yeah.
I don't know if you heard Vance tell the story about how one of the early days of the administration. He was sitting next to Trump, and Trump was like, I want you to just watch a little bit of how I work, how I operate. And I guess one of the phone calls they were on wasn't going so well. And he told them that he had to put everybody on mute. And he told Vance, this isn't going too well at all. Like, I don't like the direction this call is going. And he hit his Coca-Cola button because he needed a Diet Coke in the moment.
That's like I guess it's like this big red button. And so he's like hovering his hand over.
Right, correct.
Nuclear. We're going.
And he told Vance that this is the nukes. Yeah, this is it.
Dude, what did you just do? He's like, and the guy brings in a Diet Coke. Oh man,
I think everybody needs a Diet Coke button, Kev.
Well, it does make you, okay, not diet, maybe a Coke button.
Do you have one at your desk?
I'm drinking a Pilsner right now, so maybe a Pilsner button.
All right,
drinking a nice beer. It's really warm today in Germany. 90 something.
Is your wife standing by, ready to bring the Diet Coke as soon as you hit the button?
That would be pretty cool. I do have my 5-year-old would be able to do something like that. So that's
maybe we'll work
training.
We'll work this out.
I like it.
We'll work it on. So much
Matt,
in the Middle East. Yes, I was going to say.
Speaking of, I know people hate our rambling. I think half the people love it, half the people hate it.
So split.
So, to those who don't like it, I guess you could have
Sorry.
skipped to the 5-minute mark, and now we'll get to the actual topics, which are, yeah, I mean, speaking of Trump, and Matt, you and I haven't talked about it. We did a show, last week on the Traditionalists about this topic, Iran and Israel, etc., and had a lot of different opinions. Pretty interesting. I think pretty good show. If anyone wants to go watch that out, go check that out on the Traditionalists. That's a different YouTube channel that we do more of our politics, but Matt and I still hang out on Catholic Family Podcast because we're grandfathered in. We've been around for long enough. But Matt, I guess I'll just ask you. I mean, since you weren't there part of that discussion, I mean, what do you feel? What are your thoughts on what's going on in the Middle East?
It's funny because I think my thoughts have evolved and changed as the situation has evolved and changed.
You're not allowed to do that, Matt.
I know. You're supposed
have
to
to
think
stick
one
with
way
one-
and narrative and
Stick with your lane.
and that's it. I don't want to go on forever about this, but I think originally for me, I was extremely against any and all intervention in this affair. Israel seemed to start it. Israel seemed to want to coerce us into the situation, make their problem our problem, where they can back off and we handle it from there. And the thing that worried me is, as we've talked about, you and I together, and as other shows that you've done with other people have brought up, the Israel thing is just going to be there for the Republican Party. You've got most of these men and women who are in the either the cabinet or in Congress who are just absolute chills of Israel. They're
Zionists. They're actual. Well, Ted Cruz actually just admits it. Like, if you're not, what do you say? If you're not
with
praying
Israel,
for Israel, you'll be
with the
cursed
Bible,
or something
right?
like that,
Right. He
It's
did.
It's pretty wild.
He did say that. Those who
like that.
Those who
like that. Yeah.
And Tucker was good with him. Yeah. But so I thought my thinking as originally here with this was, if Trump didn't have the pressure he had on him, I feel as though he would not have gone in. He knows what he said for the past 20 years. He knows what he said about Iraq. He knows what he said about Barack Obama, calling him ineffective, weak. He's going to strike Iran because he doesn't know what else to do. He's a poor negotiator. I think Trump knows his past positions on this issue. And I think if he were just alone without any circle of influence, I do think that he probably would have kicked Netanyahu to the side. I really do believe that he would have not really been so pro-Israel. And I think,
but
I think
he has always said Iran cannot have nuclear weapons. He has been, like, for 20 years, he has been consistent with that.
He has been consistent with that. That is true. But at the same time, I don't think he would have pushed the way he pushed recently if it wasn't for his inner circle. So I was against the airstrikes. I think there were very few members, and I do want to talk about Marjorie Greene because she has been hitting the nail on the head, and I'm somewhat intrigued or maybe concerned as to why this information is just being let out. Like, why are we allowed to hear this? I don't know. But when the strikes were taking place, I was quite aggravated, quite annoyed. I felt like, with many people in the base, I guess you can call it, or for those who supported Trump for obvious reasons, were betrayed, that we were once again doing the work of Israel. We were once again entangling ourselves in endless wars in the Middle East. But as we take a step back and kind of let this settle, it does seem like that the strikes were done and over with. They're came and went. Hopefully the ceasefire remains. And I do think it's interesting, Trump's relationship with Netanyahu as well, because you probably saw the video where he cursed on live television. And the problem, I think, with that is Trump basically, he was embarrassed. He doesn't like, it doesn't matter who it is, he doesn't like to be embarrassed. He doesn't like to be showed up. And after the ceasefire was agreed upon, Israel started launching a parade of missiles and bombs on Iranian targets. And I think that ruffled him the wrong way. And I think now the things are settled. Again, I think it was just a Saturday or Sunday morning he said that Netanyahu is a war hero. He did great.
Yeah.
It's back to the same stuff. And it's just so tiring. And that's where I kind of want to.
But sorry, just real quickly, because I think, and I agree with you, and I saw that tweet too, and I shared it in our group, and I'm like, come on, but this is really epically important. You cannot listen to anything Trump says. You can only watch what he does. That's like, just end, period. I mean, that means we can't ever talk about him because I you know what I mean, though. Like he says stuff all the time, and I think sometimes it's just because, you know, he just talks a lot and says a lot of nonsense. Sometimes I think he actually does have a plan. I don't know which one's more often. Honestly, I think a lot of the time it's just him BSing, and it's just, you know, stuff coming out of his mouth or over his fingers, you know, and I think, but I think you got to watch what he actually does. Now, if he continues to support Israel, then yeah, it's bad. I mean, Netanyahu, in my opinion, seems to be clearly one of the most evil people in the world right now.
Hmm.
And he's committed war crimes. I mean, he is bombing the heck out of pretty innocent people in Gaza. I don't think anyone even disagrees with this, not even his hardcore supporters. Now,
Yeah.
they'll make some excuse for it, but he's doing that. And so it's like, okay, this is certainly not a guy I would be bragging about as being one of my buddies. And so it's a stupid thing to say, but let's see what he does.
I think that is a good point, and he's so not a politician in a lot of these ways, and I think you're right. He does say things just to say things, either to either ruffle feathers or to make you wonder. You've seen those clips of him probably where they ask him if he's considering. This was a few weeks ago. Are you considering striking Iran? He goes, "Do you think I'm going to tell you that?"
Right.
And he plays with your psyche a little bit into make you thinking he's going to do something that he's not going to do or not do what he's going to do. And I think you're right. You do just need to watch what's going to unfold, because I don't think he's intentionally lying or deceiving, but I think he's playing a game.
Well, and I agree with you again, but I think, well, look at what he did. It looks like, it seems from what actually happened, was that they told Iran, we're going to bomb you. They bombed them.
Which is strange.
Yeah, it's strange. And then Iran said, hey, we're going to bomb Qatar, your base in Qatar. And they're like, okay, go ahead. So they sent up 12 missiles or whatever, and they, nothing happened. Nobody died. And then Trump says, okay, now we're done. That's what happened. So if you look at that, it's like, okay, why? But I think maybe, and I think like my dad, he's much more of a Trump believer than I am. But
yes, I know.
But I think it's a fair thing where he's like, it does seem like there's at least a possibility that Trump's like, Israel, we're going to give you no more reason to go into a war with Iran. We're going to say we're going to bomb their nuclear thing, which is their whole excuse the entire time. We're going to bomb it, and then you're done. You're not going to invade. And I actually think all of Trump's issues and things I don't like, the dumb things he says, I actually think he truly wants peace. I actually believe that. And I think it's because probably because he's a narcissist and wants to be remembered as being the peaceful president. And you know what? Yes. I'm okay with that.
Same. But why do you think, though, it was kind of strange that both countries warned each other that we're going to strike in a couple hours? Everybody make sure you leave. That's a very strange war tactic.
Yeah, it is. I agree. That's why, to me, it seems like, okay, there's something else going on here. And I think it seems like it could make sense that it was Trump actually going more against Israel in a way. Kind of like, hey, look, we're going to do this, but primarily because we don't want you to actually start a war with Iran.
I think it was pretty obvious too, which Trump's cabinet made clear, that if American soldiers are hit and targeted during this, then we will respond. And I think maybe ultimately both sides, they knew that they had to sort of conduct business and exchange missiles at one another, but they knew that if major targets were hit that involved other American interests or whatever, that America would have been brought in, and a world war could have been started, but it could have gotten interesting, because I think it was Putin who said we would immediately back Iran in this conflict. So I think they knew that if what we're doing here can escalate a whole out war, we don't want that. And I think there is a general consensus among most for peace that even though they are exchanging fire, they don't want people from all over the world to be warped into this, to be sucked into this, men who are dying, for no reason at all. It's very sad when you think about it. You watch all these men and women on both sides who are just innocently living their lives and nothing to do with their government or regime at all, and just having their houses destroyed and their way of life destroyed. You would think that, and you would think that no, both sides don't really want that, but which is why I think that maybe at all those words were exchanged. But I think what's interesting, and I think I wanted to bring this up because first of all, Ted Cruz on Tucker Carlson was absolutely laughable, and
lunatic.
Nick Fuentes, love him or hate him, Nick Fuentes did a great, which I have my critiques of Nick Fuentes, but did a great summary of that. And the Tucker said the American Israeli Political Action Committee, what did they actually lobby for? And Ted Cruz said nothing. He shrugged it off, and not really anything. How can you say that? that the American Israel Political Action Committee doesn't lobby for anything. Majority Green actually opened up a lot about this, but it was so bad. And I think there's your sola scriptura in action, right? There's the word Israel in the Bible. It must mean the state of Israel formed in 1948. They're so, I mean, wow.
Dumb.
That's why I said Protestantism
Yeah.
is a work of the Jews, and we all know it.
Oh, I don't know if I can deny that now. I mean, the Schofield Bible. At least
I stole it from
Father
somebody.
McKenna, the Schofield Bible was, I mean, it was put in there, and it seems almost surely to be funded by the Rothschilds in order to shape Protestants' minds and that their belief in the Bible, etc., towards at least make it more favorable towards the Jewish religion. I don't think that's deniable.
I can't think of who said it. I can picture reading somewhere in a book, like an actual true, like not Sean Hannity's book, but like I don't know if, oh man, St. Louis de Montfort or Francis de Sales, one of them who hinted at that. And now I can't, I know I tweeted about it at one point, and maybe I'll search later for that. But somebody did kind of draw a parallel, and it was the saint that this whole Reformation is truly undermining a work of the Jews, who is always at war with the Catholic religion. They will always be at war with the Catholic. But for him to sit there, and it's funny because how Tucker had some good questions for him, and he couldn't answer it. Do you believe that the Israel mentioned in the Bible is the same? And he said yes. How is somebody this powerful have a complete misunderstanding?
And I wanted him to be president.
I did too.
This was a really.
He was my vote
for me. Yeah,
in 2016. He was my primary vote.
Right. And it was like, okay, shoot, this is a really good lesson that you need to really know what your candidates actually are going to do and believe in it. So, is it better to have a somewhat moral, insane person who is a Zionist, or to have an immoral Trump? I mean, well, that's an interesting question.
My first cringe moment with Ted. I was big Ted. I donated to his campaign. I think I had a sticker actually because I was all in for. I thought he was strong. I thought he was a true. I was so tired of the Bushes, the McCains, the Romneys that I thought a true right winger was in this mix and had a shot. And he won the Iowa primary. I remember that night very clearly. He won and I was like, this is it. He's going to push. Trump is not showing strong. Cruz is going to win. And the first cringe moment that I had with Ted Cruz, because I thought he was strong on so many issues, was when they asked him, they said, what's your position on birth control? And he said, why do you think I don't have 20 children? And I was like, ooh, like a little like, you get a little taste of his position there. But man, listening him when he didn't know the population of Iran, he has no idea. And Tucker's like, you don't know the demographics of the country. You wish to just topple and invade. And he's a war hawk. I really think he is. He's. I think it was him in the debates in 2016 who said he's going to carpet bomb the Middle East, and Trump was right in pointing out that that's insane. I'm glad that we.
I think that's the thing again with Trump. It's like again super flawed. I don't love the guy whatsoever, but he does seem to actually want to get out of the Middle East. I think he does. And I mean, I could be wrong. Maybe he does go as a total shill of Israel. That is still definitely possible. The things he says sometimes, like, yeah, dude, no. But
I think he
hasn't done it. He hasn't done it yet.
I think so. That's where I want to bring in. Majority Green has been on Tucker, and I'm shocked. I don't know if there's a hidden message here or what, but she is opening up. I'm trying to think of the right word. She's opened up to Tucker about our relations with Israel and why. And she made the point. She was like, there's a reason why you see all of these people, Republicans in Congress, tweeting things. I stand with Israel. We support Israel. Stand with Israel. They're told to do that. It's a very scripted response, and we're forced. And she said we're forced into that. And I think she said, was it Massey?
Yeah,
maybe
probably.
We're the two who completely pushed back and wanted nothing to do with it. But she said they lobby for all Israel's interests. They want all this money to be funded to Israel. we're told that we need to say certain things. So when we're out on the campaign trail, when we're on social media, when we're speaking to the press, we have to say things like Israel's our greatest ally, which is why you hear it so often, because we're told we have to say that by the powers that lobby this and and I think Trump, like I said earlier, Trump alone, I don't think he would be bothered by this, but he's surrounded by Speaker Mike Johnson. They're all the same with this one issue here. They're all Zionists. They're all told to say these things, and I think that makes up his circle. I think without all them, I think it would be far more or less of an interventionist out there than
Trump got at least supposedly $300 million from Miriam Adelson, who is a hardcore Zionist Jew. So he has gotten a lot of money in his campaign, and so that's true. But again, I think just with Trump, I think you gotta wait till he does it. You know, what is he going to do? And I think I'm totally on board. Where, as you know, again, like I'm not like my dad. I am much more skeptical, and I think it's much more likely that Trump is going to go hardcore in support of Israel, but he hasn't yet.
Yeah.
So it's like, hey, let's see. Stop listening to what he's saying. Let's just watch what he does. And there's been some good things this week. I saw some other things come out, with I don't know if you've seen this, where he ended, or he's trying to end the birthright national, what's that called?
Birthright citizenship.
Birthright citizenship. That's it. Yeah. So pretty much if you're born to an illegal immigrant here, you're automatically a citizen. He's trying to end that. And this is really interesting. I was watching Tim Pool, and they talked about this, and this is pretty interesting. So they said the argument is that they're trying to, oh boy, what's it called? It's called a class action lawsuit. So class being you're arguing a legal point on an entire class of people. So you can't, one black guy says you did this, and so the entire class of black people said, at least as far as I understand. So anyway, the argument being that this class action that they're trying to file was that the unborn babies have the right to be born in America and then to become citizens. Now, Matt, think for a second. Unborn babies have rights.
All of a sudden.
All of a sudden. Listen how important this is. So if they actually pass this, class action lawsuit, as far as I understand, you are going to have to, the Supreme Court will almost surely have to, or at least they'll come to the Supreme Court, the idea that an unborn baby is a citizen. Which means what, Matt? You cannot.
But it's a clump of cells.
Yes, exactly. You cannot kill it. You cannot murder a citizen in the belly. So this is the insanity of abortion, of course. And so it's a pretty interesting thing that this class action lawsuit, they're attacking it from one side. Like, yeah, you can't tell us that, someone born here isn't an American, but it's actually looks like it could be turned on them and could possibly be one of the greatest wins for anti-abortion ever. So pray for that, everybody. I mean, that is something that could turn into something pretty big.
Interesting. I did not know that. It's funny how often they're thrown into their own pickles, though, aren't they? Like it's not the first time where the absurdity of their arguments are just exposed, because it just boils down to so dumb.
Yeah.
And it's not. And hopefully, like you said, hopefully that does go through. What do you think, though, in terms of how do we get out of this Zionist circle? How does this stop? How does it end? Because certainly not the Republicans are not. The Democrats don't seem as shrills for Israel.
I mean, you want my honest opinion, and this is, I am not a black pillar. I'm really not. I think people know I'm a pretty optimistic guy. I really believe that the American Republic, as it was founded, it does not exist anymore. I don't think it is not what it was, and I don't think it can probably ever. Maybe it can. Maybe somehow through maybe war or famine or plague or death and destruction, it can somehow find its way back. But I doubt it. So honestly, it's probably going to become through anarchy, rebellion, death, persecution, and then from that, possibly from the ashes of martyrdom, persecution, then something good can rise. But the way that the system is now, Matt, our entire Congress is owned by AIPAC and by the pharmaceutical companies. How could we possibly ever actually become a country again that's based on Christian values, not Judeo-Christian values, Catholic values?
Ben Shapiro's favorite word. Judeo-Christian. Judeo-Christian.
No. So I think it's I think America as the founders intended it. It's done.
You know what Majority Green said about this Israel and something that happened in wow, this is an embarrassing moment. It's America 1963. I'm blanking on the year.
For what?
Major event in 1960. Oh,
JFK.
Yeah, was that 2 or 3? 3. Okay, all right. Made me nervous for
3, I think.
For she said that Israel took out JFK. That is pretty
she
much
said that. Ooh.
She did.
Oh, spicy.
She did. And which is why, if I can loop him back in, I was listening to a show, Nick Fuentes again. Anyway, but his point was good. They took out. He actually did a history of the Jewish state of Israel and the negotiations between them and President Kennedy, who was completely opposed to a nuclear program with Israel for a very, very good reason. And he was concerned about this Zionist state, and he spoke against it. And he was unlifed a few months after the fact. That, very interestingly enough, and not only that, but just people who were involved afterwards. A lot of connections. So I think more and more, take people in the moment, and bring us where we're at today. They say hindsight is 20/20, but things like that incident are looking very, very different in my eyes than people who were living that moment to watch the president of the United States get assassinated. It's probably, think about what you and I don't know, and think about how bad it probably is, and what they do control us to be as puppets. Putin made a point, and I don't. Again, how much do you take his word for it? I don't know, but he laughed at the thought that people just win elections in the United States and run the country. He said that that's not true. Which is why he said Obama looks like Biden, looks like Bush, looks like Reagan, looks like Clinton. Because the men in the black suits with the blue ties show up and they dictate everything. I think there's something to say to that.
I mean, certainly there's a deep state. I don't think anyone questions that anymore. That just this group of people who've been there for decades and who, run the CIA, etc. But again, I think the thing that just totally blackpills me against the American, the American government as we think we know it is the Congress. Again, they're just all bought and paid for, except for maybe 2. Woohoo! Yeah. Yay! We have 2 Congress people who aren't bought and paid for by the Jews or the pharmaceutical companies. So I'm sure, what's the point?
And I'm sure that it's not. And I'm sure that it's not that pretty either. I think if it was just maybe money involved or just a question like, do you want to join AIPAC? No, there's probably a lot of pressure.
Have you heard of Jeffrey Epstein?
I was just gonna say, I'd hate to go that far, but
I don't need to go that far. It's true. I mean, Matt, there's no question he was a Mossad, not an agent, but he was working alongside the Mossad. That's like almost fact. And he was doing this, and for sure he was doing it with politicians, for sure. And also celebrities and stuff. But I mean, it's not that. No, I'm not saying all of them, but I just saw a report coming out from some fairly reputable source. I'm not saying this is true. This is just something I saw on Twitter, guys, on X. But Lindsey Graham is known to go and hire gay prostitutes and stuff.
Probably.
And it's like, and it wouldn't surprise me, the way this guy is. But I mean, there's a lot of these guys who are just retrobates, and when you get enough power and enough money, it almost always is going to lead you to perdition, and worse and worse and worse. And I think it's just not, I don't think it's what our founders intended. And I'm not saying our founders were these holy men, but they didn't intend that. I think they actually wanted a country that would last on the values of decent men, not necessarily Catholic men, but decent men who actually wanted the good of the people around them. And Matt, how many Congress people want the good of the people around them?
Which, though, and ultimately is doomed to fail when you do that, because once you sure. They depend on human decency naturally, which, of course, without grace and without any, you're just going to flop. And here, surprised it took this long.
Yeah,
That was an ultimate failing point.
But it's a great point, Matt, and I think you're totally right. But I do, again, on the other side, really believe that it lasted this long because it was founded by brilliant men on a brilliant system. I truly believe that. It was not founded on God, truly God and Catholicism, as it should have been. It wasn't. But its principles were good enough that it lasted 250 years as a mighty empire. And that's something that's incredible.
Hmm.
And it's done. It's gone. I mean, it doesn't exist. I mean, America still has power, it still has all these things, but it's not run by decent men and women trying to actually do the best they can. And so
Right.
it will fall. I mean, it's just not even a question. And as you said, who's it going to be? Is it going to be because Israel gets us into the World War III? That absolutely could be. Totally could be.
You just somehow, some way, this will all play out. You know, that's what I think
Yeah.
is strange too. Is you hypothesize, what's the word? Hypothesize, yeah, and you try to project, but somehow, some way, things will evolve and things will happen, and
Yeah.
who knows? Predicting it, I don't know. But there's just. I think people should really look at that interview with Marjorie Green and Tucker Carlson, who, again, him too. It's shocking to me that he is being allowed to say the things he's saying. There are theories like he's a Mason and he's being permitted to do these things, and for whatever reason, the Masonic powers might be letting him. I don't know. I think you can speculate upon everything if you just go that route, but maybe we should.
I think that whole idea, and we talked about this on the show. I do think there is a Kabbalah. You know, I do think there are evil men who are in a group that are trying to run as much as they can, but you know, evil is not united. Like evil people always have selfish interests. They always want to go on their own. This idea that there's just like this one genius mastermind pulling puppet strings is just not. It's not true. It's not how it works. Evil does not work together. Now, I do again think there is a group of people who do, like, look at Bilderberg, for goodness sake. So they do go and say, "Hey, we want to do this," but then once they're out of the Bilderberg, they go home and they try to fulfill their own interests. You know, they're trying to whatever that is. If it's Malthusian, if it's demonic, if it's Zionist, you know, they all have their own agendas that they're going to go and try to, you know, fulfill. Even if it's just, hey, I want to be hedonistic, you know, whatever that is. And so I think I just don't buy that. But I do buy that our world is in real trouble, real big trouble, because how many good men are there and women? I mean, they barely exist. And especially those in places of power. I mean, I don't know if there are any.
I truly think that in order to get to that height of fame and power, it's not a natural ascendance to just this. There's this brings me to a point. I don't know if it might have been Tucker Carlson who suggested that nuclear technology was almost sort of a demonic sort of
totally agree.
Assistance there, that he said that there's a lot of things that are evil and wicked in this world that were not that aliens came down from outer space and said, here, this is what it's like, but this very strong influence of infused knowledge of demonics look
at it this way, Matt, and this is really interesting. Now there's a lot of things that the world has amazingly perfected, like logistics. Look at how Amazon works. Like, that's incredible. Like
the mail.
I work at a small grocery store, in a small town as a manager, and just seeing how much produce comes into this little tiny grocery store from another place, you know, in the middle of, you know, of Bavaria, that gets it from all over the world, that ships into one place and then sells it to all these different grocery stores around. It's incredible. So there's some things that our society has really done extremely well, but there's a lot of other things that's like not, you know, and so I think some of these things like microchips, nuclear energy,
the pyramids.
The pyramids.
We did that.
I actually really do wonder and think that it is definitely possible that you had people selling their souls or whatever it is to get hidden information. I think that's possible. And I think you look at the occultism, you know, right now, I mean, that would just not shock me. Listen to Joe Rogan sometimes talk about the what he call it, the fifth dimension.
Yeah.
It's weird, and it's almost certainly demonic. And they get there through drugs and stuff.
Yeah. And it does make me wonder how much because it is strange again, and I think we even talked about this with the lottery, right? That one person can just suddenly rise to this billion-dollar empire of wealth and fame and recognition that almost doesn't seem very natural on a natural level without some help from some probably not so good guy. And I wouldn't doubt if Trump has to be entangled in it to some extent. I think he has to be.
Yeah.
Many of them
At the very least, you have to be extremely cutthroat and immoral to a point, at least. You just have to be. I don't think you become a billionaire without being at least you're not high in your moral character.
Well, there are some music stars who have alluded to that. I won't name a name, but I remember listening and I won't name it because I can't think of who it was. I'm just not gonna help.
You're not gonna name it.
Which is why I'm not gonna name it.
That's a really good way to get past having a bad memory. I'm not gonna say
you because I don't remember who said it.
I like that.
But I think it was a she. Maybe I don't remember, but not Britney Spears. Something like that, where they said that in order to get to that level of high-powered men putting out your albums, putting out your music, you've got to do a lot of immoral favors, if you can catch my drift there. And they'll do it for you.
I mean, Matt, I know we've talked about this a little bit before, and I don't want to directly accuse her because I don't know. Maybe Taylor Swift is a perfectly lovely person who is not. I don't know. I don't know specifically. I don't know her. I don't know. I'm not saying she sold her soul. I don't know.
Probably.
She's not that talented. She's just not. She's decently talented. She's fine. She's fine. She's a coffee shop musician.
Right. You can find them down the street.
She's fine. She's totally fine. There's nothing wrong. I shouldn't say that. I'm sure there is. I haven't listened to all of her songs. I'm sure there's immoral stuff. But she's talented. She's way more talented than me. She deserves to be fairly popular. But to be way more popular than the Beatles? No.
Did you know?
Matt. It's just no. I'm sorry. It's not natural. There's something really, really, really weird.
She, as an individual, has a greater net worth and power influence than a handful of nations. I forget the stat on that, but she has a bigger economy than like countries.
I mean, it doesn't make sense. I mean, look, you can say whatever you want about the Beatles. I'm not saying they're good or bad. I know that people have very diverse opinions on them.
Totally sold their souls.
Probably.
I think.
But their music was transformational. It was a revolution.
It defined an era.
Defined an era. It was something to it. And like the Rolling Stones too, who also admit they sold their souls. But there was something it makes sense. It's like, okay, yeah,
ABBA.
I get why they are something really, really big. Taylor Swift is just her music is so mid. It's so well, okay, yeah, it's fine, I guess. I mean, it doesn't make any sense, man. And it's weird. It's weird. It's like the microchip. There's something very unnatural about some of the things we have in our world, and I think we should at least question it a little bit. You know?
Yeah.
Speaking of questioning things a little bit, what do you think of our new Pope, man?
I was gonna say. Our new Supreme Pontiff. He speaks Latin, so
right. Dresses nicely.
Without that, I mean, he's got the nice hat on and all that, and it's the same thing. I don't see why people are falling for anything about this. You read his Twitter, and it's almost I can't say that. I was gonna say it's almost worse than Bergoglio. You can't get worse than that, but he's close. He repeat just this weekend. He tweeted unity. If I were to ask any sincere Catholic, what is unity? How do you achieve unity among religions? It's quite the obvious answer. You're baptized, you profess the one same religion, and you unite under the Supreme Pontiff. There's your unity. Very, very clear. He went on this whole spiel that unity is achieved through mutual respect and forgiveness and gazes. I'm sure it's the same sort of humanistic, natural stuff time and time and time again that he doesn't get off of. It's the exact same recycled content of Francis that is put out there. And there you see some of his appointees are very troubling.
Yeah.
Very, very troubling.
Yep.
They've gone
Very
certainly in the wrong
pro-female
direction.
priest. That's what
And other
I
things.
called it. I called
People
it.
people are saying, is he going to overturn Traditionis Custodes? Absolutely not. He is not concerned. And I think the bubble that exists on Twitter or whatever social media platform of Latin Massism is not this global phenomenon that people think it is. It's a very, 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 very small. People think it because they talk about people who share similar interests, who follow each other on Twitter, and your whole timeline is filled with it because you're following those people.
Right.
You think, oh wow, everybody wants the Latin Mass. That is not true. Most people have no idea. I was one of them, and I know that I was among many, 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 many people. And this is in America, where the Latin Mass has a much bigger presence than elsewhere in the world. Go ahead.
Sorry, I got to share a story. There's a show. It's called the Mass of the Ages, and it's got some interesting things. It was made by SSPX, I think, or maybe FSSP. And anyway, I think FSSP probably.
Yeah,
they had their third video or fourth video. They had a group of older women who walked from somewhere in the middle of France to Rome, which is wow. I mean, really impressive. And they did it, and it was very public. And they did it in order to ask Francis at the time if he would, exactly, get rid of Traditionis Custodes. And so they got there, and they did this whole video of them walking and why they were walking, and it was really respectable. I mean, I'm not with I think they're missing some things, but I really respect it. A couple of them had sons who were priests in the FSSP, and it was you could get behind them, at least for what they're trying to do. So they get there, and they did get an audience, quote unquote, with the Pope. And this lady goes up and she's like, oh yeah, I'm with this group. Da, 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 da. And so okay, sorry. So the whole movie they're saying, okay, we're doing this, and we have a meeting with the Pope. We're going to tell them this, and we're all praying for it, and it's going to change. We're going to change this by our great suffering and walking. And again, huge respect to these ladies. And they get there, and she walks up, and she like shakes Francis's hand, and she's like, yeah, I'm so and so. We just did this and this. And he's just like, yeah, okay, bye, next.
Yeah.
It was nothing right. Happened. I mean, he's like, I don't care.
Right.
What do you think you are? I'm the Pope who is. He could not have cared less, man. And you saw it.
They think they're more important than they are.
Hey, yeah, okay, fine. Get her, move her away. Yeah. Get her out of my face.
You had 3 seconds. Yeah.
It was literally so they made it like she has an audience. No, she literally just went in a line and shook his hand, and then he's like, yeah, okay, get out of go away. Mm-hmm. But I just think that's exactly what you're saying, man. That's exactly what Prevost is going to do now too. He doesn't care.
Right. Yeah.
He doesn't care.
Keep the line moving. No.
Keep the line moving. Get out of my face.
This is not an interest of his at all. I mean, I think it's kind of clear that he does have a little bit more respect for some decorum. I mean, his predecessor was so bad, but he's got a little bit. But this is not a concern of his. He has said, we know he has said multiple times that he's going to continue the synodal church of Francis. He's going to continue the vision of Francis.
You know what's funny, Matt?
That's it.
I actually think that Bergoglio felt more like at home among like half-naked savages. I'm not even kidding. I think that's actually what he liked. He liked paganism, occultism. Mm-hmm. I think like him as he himself, that was what he liked. I think Prevost is just a more conservative American. I mean, quote unquote conservative. He's just conservative is not the right word. He is more normie.
He's just like, yeah.
He's just like, he is not like this extremist like the Bergoglio was, who's like, yeah, bring me the half-naked witches. And I think Prevost is more like that. Yeah, I'm just kind of this American guy, and I'm just gonna, I'm gonna keep doing what Bergoglio did, and no, I'm not gonna change anything. He's not gonna change anything, but he's also not as extreme.
Well, I knew many Novus Ordo clerks and all that who were pretty. I'm not trying to describe it with proper wording, but they were kind of just in the middle. They thought they were Catholic. They said they were Catholic. They were pretty, they had the basics of, the rosary and the sacraments and hearing confessions and marriage and baptism. And they knew a lot of catechism Catechism of the Catholic Church, the 83 one from John Paul II. But they knew these things, but they were certainly removed from the actual Catholic religion, from what we actually know to be the Catholic. But they were not any of these. Bergoglio was a radical, and I think it's just so bad. They were more just, and I think that's what Prevost is he's just a Novus Ordo guy who runs the diocese, and nobody knows too. Maybe a little bit more left leaning in some issues, but not real trouble.
Female priest. I'm telling you, and I said that because
you see that
I read about him as soon as he became,
I think,
quote unquote Pope. I think that's.
I think they're very though, but I think they're very. If you notice, there hasn't been any solemn declaration from anybody, from any of them. John Paul II, Benedict. I think they're very careful not to toe that line, and I think women priests, I think would be a huge flag for them that I don't think they're willing to. I think,
well, and he's appointed already a couple bishops who are very pro, and I think. What would make sense is they're going to do the whole synod is synodality. Sorry, guys. I'm just the Pope. I don't really have a say. I'm going to listen to my bishops.
Right. I'm one among many. Yeah.
And the people want it, and the bishops want it. And so it's not my choice. I'm going with what the church wants. And so the church wants women priests. I'm telling you, man, I think that's his thing. I think Bergoglio was, pagan and I mean, he's a pagan. I don't think he believed in anything remotely Catholic. Prevost, I think that's his thing. I think that's his liberalism. That is going to be the big mark that he makes in the Novus Ordo Church. Could be wrong, obviously. Wow. I'm calling it.
Well, I think it was Father Gecko who told me there will be a huge ecumenical event at some point. Could be years from now, but there will be there will be an Assisi all over again. He's going to do that because you could tell that he's a bit younger. He's a bit more maybe social. He's I think he's a bit more kinder. I guess you could use he's a bit more approachable.
Well, get this. So the big news. He's going to unite with the Eastern Church. So imagine this, Matt. When the Eastern Church, you quote unquote unites with Rome, and still denies papal authority. That's what they're going to do. They're gonna be like, yeah, we are one with the Roman Catholic Church. And our patriarch is still in charge. And it's going to be like, wait, what? It's what they're heading towards, Matt. These people are...
Because they don't see unity. They don't see unity as we know unity to be. They see unity as just a common profession of faith in Christ. That's all they think it is.
Or not even Christ. It's not even Christ. It is the Mohammedan God. It is the Jewish... Yahweh. It is not even the Christian God. It is literally just this supposed God who is the God of all creatures. It's insanity. Totally insane.
But for a lot of them, there's which is why you see him tweet these things, because there's no unity of membership in the Roman Catholic Church. That's not a thing to them. It's just getting together. I remember thinking this way too. I was deep into this where one of the colleges that I started off at, there were these Christian groups and all that of all sorts of Bible believers, born agains, and I thought we were all one same team. I truly did. I didn't think otherwise. It seemed they all professed faith in Christ. They probably agreed with me on a lot of issues. So I'm big. These are my people over here. They're not Catholic, but we're just some differences of opinion. They're all, and I think that's how these people see it now. For the most, I mean, you're right. It's a lot deeper than that, but I think that they don't see Christian unity as the way the church or Pius XII taught. Pius XII was he was almost a prophetic pope, because so many of his works were to seal some issues for us, because almost like, he knew what was coming next. And I think he did say, after me comes the flood, or something like that. But Mystici Corporis it was such looking back on it, it's such a masterpiece work, because in this area of time of confusion about the church and the mystical body of Christ, he defined it so brilliantly throughout for us, and very prophetic work.
Amen to that. Well, and that's the lesson, right? So anyone who is doubting and wondering what on earth is going on with the Catholic Church, go back and read Mystici Corporis. Go back and read these other works of true popes back before 1958. There's some really good ones. I mean, Cassia Canubi, again, about the Catholic family, and so many good ones that even if it's not like, hey, I want to become a Sede Vacantis, if it's just like, hey, I want to learn what the church teaches on this, and this, guys, there's so much There's so much out there from actual popes who
More
teach
time
clearly.
animos.
They teach
More time
clearly.
animos.
It's like, boom, this is the teaching of the church and has been since Christ, and it's beautiful.
That's what you get with Pius the 11th, Mortarium Animus. Talk about clarity, talk about defining terms and defining our teachings so crisply and concisely and to the point. That was the first encyclical that I read through thoroughly when I was researching these things, and I was like, wow, like this is so different from what I've known. And he just it's so rich of Catholicity. Probably my favorite. I mean, there's so many. I go back and forth, but that one is probably my favorite. I loved him, Pius the 11th. He was sandwiched in between two great Piuses. But no,
he's got some great works, great social works.
He was he was so firm and
and it just helps you understand. Read Costi Connubii again.
He was very rigid.
It's just like, hey, look, this is how it is. This is the teaching of the church. This is the answer to this question.
Did you know?
That's what we need.
Did you know that he called a few clergy priests into his office who were said to have been saying some heresies in their sermons in their dioceses wherever around the world? He had them come kneel in their offices for like 4 hours, 3 or 4 hours or something like that. You can read about it. It's online. He was imposing their penance, just like Leo would do.
Penance? What is this word you speak of? Penance? Oh man, on that note, well, I guess everyone will have to stay tuned for their penance of us next Monday, I suppose. Listen to another Matt and Kevin in the morning.
Yeah,
get in your dose of waking up with us next Monday. Hopefully we'll be here. I plan to be. It's going to be a hot week here. I don't know about there, Matt, but it's going to be a warm one. But we're going to do our best to stay cool and stay with you guys. We thank you all for being here. We appreciate it. We went a little long this time, but it was fun. Make sure in the comment section to let us know what you think of these topics: Trump, Israel, Iran, Prevost,
Iran,
aliens, all these different things. We'd be interested to hear your thoughts, and let us know if there's anything you want us to talk about. We love having your feedback and what you'd like us to talk about next time. And either way, we will see you guys next Monday. Till then, God bless you.